This is the No Exit Project by Bryon, Abel, and Bellamy. Carson. Now, what about the valet? Silence. Carson goes over and rings the bell. No answer and no noise. He rings it again. The valet walks in again. Carson slowly walks over to the valet. You keep us here to attune for our sins, but you have to leave another room to be with your uncle. The valet. Why don't you stay here with us? Inez responds. Estelle, picking up the bloodied knife she used on Inez. Let me check to see if you're dead, just like the rest of us. Carson grabs the valet while Estelle runs to him to stab him. Estelle repeatedly stabs the valet in the chest, laughing hysterically. You left this here for a reason. You didn't you, Mr. Valet? The valet doesn't say a word and keeps his eyes peeled, staring at Inez in the back, who watches. The two try to kill him. Inez, Estelle, you got his blood all over your face. There's nothing on Estelle, but she still stops to check if she does have something. Estelle, I can't feel anything on me. Does it look bad? Carson, there's nothing on you. He never even bled. Estelle, turning towards Carson, but Inez said, Carson, and you believe her? You saw that nothing came out of him? Estelle, but if nothing came out of him, then does that mean he's not even real? She turns back to the valet, who stands there, unfazed, with the knife in the center of his chest. Valet, unlike you three, I have no sins to atone for. I am simply a valet here. I tend to the guests here and their experiences. Inez, so you have no other importance? Valet, I wouldn't worry about it now. The valet pulls the knife from his chest. He turns from the three and sets the knife near the brown piece. He walks back to the door and then leaves the three. Estelle, running her hands along her arms and body, checking herself. Come to think of it, what was I even wearing when I came here? Inez just looked down to see her clothes. She looks down at her body and realizes she can no longer see her clothes. Estelle, panicking. Inez, what am I wearing? Inez, whispering to herself. She can't see what she's wearing either. With a cruel smile. This should be fun. Inez, you are wearing nothing. Estelle, I thought about it. It was so obvious. I didn't want to point it out. Estelle, with a frown. That's insane. I would never do that. Estelle looks down, but she still can't see. Estelle, with a frustrated huff. I can't even see it myself if it's true. Carson, tiredly. You're wearing a blue dress. Carson, why are you trying to mess with her head, Inez? We are already going mad. Inez, oh sure. Let the coward talk. Maybe this time he'll actually fight. Carson, with sudden interest, a coward? No, I stood up for my beliefs. Inez, cruelly. You ran away from the war and died in act of cowardice. Estelle, fixing her hair. At least that's what you told us. Carson, roughly grabbing Estelle's arms. That's not what happened. Listen to her, Inez. You're just making it up. Estelle stares at the hold Carson has on her. She grips herself away and walks away from him. Carson, even so, you aren't one to talk. Estelle, after drowning yourself on your own child shortly after his birth? Estelle pauses in complete shock. Inez, sitting with her arms crossed, amusedly watching the others. Regardless, neither of you take responsibility for your sins. Carson can't accept the fact that he ran away, and Estelle can't even say that she killed. Inez walks towards Estelle, who is shaking in pace. Inez, petting her hair and leaning against Estelle. You poor thing. You don't even know what you're wearing anymore. You walked through that door with your pale blue dress, and now it's stained red. Your hands are wearing crimson gloves of the blood of the lover who killed himself. Your dress itself is a reminder of the ocean you killed your baby in. Carson wouldn't tell you the truth. He wants you to feel safe with him so he can pretend to be a real man. But I'll be honest with you. Estelle shoves and moves away from her and sits on the couch hugging herself. Carson attempts to sit by her, but she scouts away from him. Inez, smiling wickedly, she won't even pretend to like you anymore, Carson. You can't pretend to be a man anymore. Carson, briskly getting up towards and towering over Inez. You pretend to be so much better than us, but don't forget you're in the same room. Estelle and I can't have pretended to love each other if you hadn't interfered. When we were alive, we had people that loved us. I had my wife who stayed with me despite how I treated her. Estelle had a man who killed himself over her, but you couldn't get anyone. You had to steal someone from your own cousins, no less. Even then, she killed you. You couldn't get anyone to love you because you are cruel, miserable, and unloved. Inez glares up at him. She opens her mouth to say something, only to remain silent. The three remain silent. Inez, gesturing at each of them. The valet sure knew what we would do to each other. Inez gets up to pick up the knife again. She throws it against the door with a scream. Estelle, hollow and small. Well, let's go on with it. Curtains close. So for the set design, it's going to be very dark and minimalist. The room is going to have dark gray walls and it's going to look patchy in a way to look like the room is vintage and old. The walls are going to have frames with images of the characters, but the photos are going to be fading, which is going to resemble their life of who they are exactly. There's going to be a wooden desk. It's very vintage and old with the chair as well. That is vintage and cracky. And there's going to be a green couch that is long, forest green colored, and a beige single chair that is couch-like. And it's going to have that mysterious look. And there's going to be a door as well that's going to lead nowhere. It's going to be the no exit door. And behind that door, it's going to be a white wall. For the lighting, there's going to be a chandelier and it's going to have vintage rustic light bulbs. A couple of them will be flickering and a couple of them will be, just with the bright light. The light isn't going to be too bright and it's not going to be bright enough because the walls are going to be dark, so the light isn't really going to bounce off, but it's also not going to be too dark to the point where you can't see anything or anyone on the set. And that is our script by me, Bryon, and Bellamy. Thank you.